This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 1164 of Horse Tip Daily, your almost everyday morsel of helpful hints, useful facts, and practical techniques for horse folks. Brought to you today by EquestrianCollections.com. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip features Olympic eventer Gina Miles, talking about keeping your bit collection simple yet effective, and how and why she chose the bits she did to feature in her line of bits from Professional's Choice. And we'll get right to our tip after this shopping tip from EquestrianCollections.com.
Hi, Glenn here from the Horse Radio Network, and I'm with Debbie from Equestrian Collections with the Equestrian Collections Product of the Week.
This week I'm featuring one product that comes in a bunch of cool styles and colors. This is the Kelly Tech Trek smartphone case. Now, this is the first smartphone case that we have carried that actually is a good enough size to fit your smartphones. It's half an inch by 3.25 by, get this, 5.5 inches, which means it's big enough to fit the iPhones, the Droid DNA and Galaxy phones, those kinds of things, those bigger smartphones. I have 3 different phone carriers in my trailer, none of which are big enough to fit the iPhone, but these ones are, and they come in such cool colors. They come in plaid, blue, and that has a picture of a jumper on it. They come in solid colors, purple, pink, blue. They've got different horse designs on them. This is going to be a great gift. Not only do you want one for yourself, but you're going to want to get at $14.99, at $15, you're going to want to get a couple in different colors to match your outfits. You know how trail riders are, match your outfits, but also to give as gifts, because I think this is going to be a big seller. They're brand new. We're happy to have them on EquestrianCollections.com.
And you just search for Kelly Tech Trek, TEKTREK, and you'll.
And let me tell you, they attach by a on the top with a snap on the top, so that you can put them on your belt loop. You can put them on your saddle if that's where you want to carry your cell phone, and you can attach them to a ring on your belt. So I think there's all kinds of ways that you can attach this while you're out and about.
At EquestrianCollections.com.
Yes, exactly. I've been working with Professional's Choice on a bit line. Bitting has sort of been my passion from, I can remember I was a working student for Brian Sabo and walking into his tack room at Hurdledale, and there's a whole wall of bits. And he knew about every single bit and what this bit did and what that bit did. And it was such a fascination for me that there was so much about bitting to learn. And that really continued on riding with Jimmy Wofford and being on the East Coast and learning about horses and training from Jimmy and sort of his philosophies, and also with George Morris. As a 3-day eventer, I've spent a lot of time cross-training in the dressage and the show jumping disciplines, and so getting sort of that feedback and perspective, I just have always had a real passion for it. So when Dal Scott, the owner of Professional's Choice, approached me with the idea of a bit line, it was a natural fit. You know, I'm really, my goal was to educate people more about bitting. A lot of times I see people out there in a fad bit, the latest, greatest, and they have no idea what it does. And so for me to try to help educate people about what bits do and get the most performance out of their horse was my goal.
So when you switch between disciplines as a 3-day eventer, same horse, do you change bits depending on what you're doing?
Absolutely. Now, one of my basic philosophies is to try to go in the simplest bit possible. So if I can ride in the basic double ring snaffle that I have for all 3 phases, that's my first choice. And I try to get, if I have a new student, a new horse comes into the barn, that's what I want to put him in, is I have a really basic loose ring, double jointed snaffle that's legal for dressage, and we start everybody in that. And that's sort of our starting point. You know, where are we? What's the communication? Does the horse listen? Where are the problems? And then we go from there.
So if you have, let's say you have a horse who's just really strong in the bit, hard to rate, whether it's control out in the open, cross country, or even in the ring, what would be the next thing that you would go up to?
Well,
if it's just a lot of energy.
Yeah. Well, and I worked on putting together a bit guide. So I actually wrote a guide that's going to go along with the bits to help explain some of these things because that's such
a free lesson from Gina.
Exactly.
That normally costs you $10,000, but
$20. It just went up to $20.
I didn't know.
Every once in a while he catches on, and then we have to be careful. Then we just turn his volume down.
But that is so much to that because there's different types of mouthpieces that you can go to. So you can change the action of the mouthpiece to either go more gentle or more severe based on what you put in the mouth. And then there's also the cheek pieces. So there's a lot of, whether you're going to a full cheek or a loose ring or a D ring, there's a lot involved in the cheek pieces. Whether you start to go to leverage. So we get into the realm of leverage bits. And then you have to look at, okay, well, is my horse strong because he goes too high? Does he put his head up in the air and he's hollow backed? Or does he bear down? Does he, lean down and go too low? Or does he act like he swallowed a 2x4 and he's completely locked in the head and the neck? And that's going to determine what I go to, and affect. And that's kind of what I explain in the bidding guide about, what is it that your horse does? So he runs off with you, but does he go down too low? If he goes down too low, we need to be looking at a gag type bit. So I've got a W gag that's really good for cross country and horses that run way too low, versus the signature bit, which I'm really excited about. We was so excited to get this one out there finally. It's this double ring Waterford. So it's got a Waterford mouthpiece. So it can be very mild for a young horse. So if you have a kind of a green young horse and you don't want to go too strong or overbid them and you use even pressure, the Waterford's really gentle. But because it's got two rings, so the cheek piece attaches to one ring and the reins to the other, there's no fixed point of contact. So the horse cannot lean on it. There's literally no fixed point
Isn't that one of
for
your
the horse
favorite
to
bits
lean
anyway?
on. Oh, all-time favorite bit.
Yeah.
All-time favorite
Explain
bit.
a little bit about how a Waterford functions because it's my favorite too, but I don't know why.
Okay.
I just know it's gentle and it's soft.
Exactly. Because the most gentle mouthpiece you can use is a mullen mouth, right? So just one solid, smooth piece across the horse's mouth. And so your Waterford can act like a mullen mouth if you use even contact on both reins. So if you have completely even contact, it just makes that Waterford go into one solid piece. So it's really gentle on the horse's tongue, which is why it's good for young horses. But if they start to lean or brace or run off with you, instantly by moving the bit around in the mouth, you can change it into 5 different pieces. It's got the 5 different pieces on it. So you can break them up, loosen them, stop them from bolting or leaning and running off with you, and then go right back to the smooth
it's like
pressure.
A whole training toolkit in their mouth right there.
Exactly.
So if you know how to use it properly, it's like a little toolkit.
Exactly. So we've taken the Waterford and
we've little light bulb going off over my head.
That's why you love it. So we've taken the Waterford, and by adding the double rings, we've taken that one step further. So still with a young horse, it's still going to be as gentle as you want the Waterford to be, but the strongest horse I've ever ridden cross country in my life. Now, like the one that would pull and take off like a freight train. If I put more like a strong bit in her mouth, she hated it. She'd hop up and down. And we get a lot of thoroughbreds in eventing that don't like strong bits and they need more control. But if you go to more bit, the horse just hates it, but they don't resent this because it's got that gentle mouthpiece. And then it's got the 2 rings. So your rein is attached separately from where your cheek pieces are. And when they go to lean on you, you can move that around. If they're a little low, it can have a slight gag effect. If they're a little hollow, you can really supple them in the pole and the jaw and get them to drop and relax their back. And it's like magic control. I mean, it really, we can put it on 80% of the horses in the barn and have it be a solution, solving the problems.
What makes your bits different than everybody else's? That's a question you're going to get over and over again.
Yeah, of course. Well, we do have some very basic bits that are very similar to, what you'll find on the market. We've got a slow twist. We've got the double ring. I think because they're manufactured by Professional's Choice, we know that it's really high quality. Professional's Choice, that's one of their really main goals is to have super high quality products at a really competitive price. So, you're getting, you look at our price points and it's very competitive and it's super high quality. And then we've added some of the specialty in there, some of the things that you don't have out there. One of the bits actually back in McKinley's early days that Brian Sabo had brought over from England was this W gag. And I had ridden McKinley Cross Country and that, like around the 2-star level, and I couldn't buy one. I wanted to buy one. I had some students that tried it, and you couldn't find it in this country.
Yeah, that's not your normal gag bit.
Yeah.
No. And so we came up with the W mouthpiece, and we've got it both in the gag bit for cross country as well as a full cheek, which is more traditional for your hunter jumper. If you're going to go in the hunter ring or the eck ring, you need to have a more classical full cheek type cheek piece. Yeah. But a lot of times you'd see like the double twisted wire, which maybe is a little more harsh than what you'd want to do. So we've got the smooth mouthpiece on that. So it's a little smoother, a little kinder, but still having a little bit of an elevation, kind of bump that horse up off the contact, still appropriate for the equitation hunter ring.
So what's the W? How does that function, the W?
So the W is like two different snaffle pieces. It's hard to describe without seeing it in person. But if you think of the action of a double twisted wire, if you've seen that, you've got the two different snaffle pieces, but they're offset, so it creates multiple points of pressure on the horse's tongue. Okay. Yeah. So then when you add multiple points of contact on the tongue, you get a quicker reaction. Okay. So it's a little bit sharper, a little more reactive. If you need a horse to respond quicker with less rein pressure, those multiple points of contact are going to give you that reaction.
So good too for the jumper ring.
Great for the jumper ring. More traditional look. Yep. You don't see a gag bit in the eck ring or the hunter ring, but got to go with a full cheek or a D ring. So more traditional, more control. Also really good for cross country and hunting too. If you've got a horse that goes down too low, I know people go to a gag really quick. The problem with gags is you can get horses too hollow and inverted. So I'm careful about the gags, especially with a less experienced rider. But going to something like the W gets the horse to pick up his head and his neck and not bear down without having to go to the leverage action of the gag.
That's really important when you're moving out at a clip, especially on uneven terrain. You're going down rocky footing, and up here in the Northeast, you never know what you're going to get in terms of footing. And please just lift your head up. Go to your hands too much.
Exactly.
You really screwing with them.
Exactly. But if you've got just a little bit more there in the mouth, it can just get a really quick reaction. Pick that head and neck up. Be in a balance where you're safe, and you get the head and neck up, the haunches go down, and off you go.
All right. So what do you have for those dressage? For the dressage.
The dressage riders.
Yeah.
We have a wonderful basic double. We call the double break snaffle. It's double jointed. It's smooth across the middle. It's a loose ring. So again, you've got the added suppling. Your very classic, basic day-to-day training bit, legal for the dressage ring. Horses love it. It's a good diameter. I think you go too thick sometimes, and a horse with a small palate's going to resent it. You go too thin, it's too harsh. A little harsh. So it's a nice medium thickness. It's a good weight. Sometimes you hold those snaffles and you can get a feel for how it's going to sit in your horse's mouth based on the weight. So it's just a good blend, a good weight, a good size. Good
and
classic.
Of course, the most important thing is Gina's from California. She always looks good. Every place she goes, are the bits good looking like you, Gina?
Beautiful. They fit right in with our California, exactly. A little bit of shine on that California sunshine, a little bling.
Well, what I like about it, you said, is there's a lot of trendy bits, and people will put things in their horse's mouth, and they don't know why. This collection sort of represents what you said when we started out the show, which is starting out with the simplest bit possible. And these are just very basic, simple things. So you can accomplish a lot with very simple bits.
Exactly. And what I like to do, because I have children too, and I appreciate you're out fox hunting, you're sending your child out on cross country, you want them to be safe, you want them to have control. And so I'm all about that. You need to put something stronger for the competition, great. Then come home, put something simpler in, and work on getting better at home and getting more communication, riding more from your leg in your seat, mild bit at home, and then maybe you still need to, and then you get to the point where, oh my gosh, I actually don't need that bit anymore because I've actually trained my horse. Which is what I think is the goal.
Going right back to the simplest of simple.
Exactly. So kind of a cycle.
Where can people find them, Gina?
So Professional's Choice is carrying the bits, and they're in all stores that carry Professional's Choice products, and you can order directly from the website at Professional's Choice as well.
Good.
And that pretty much takes care of it. You can also find lots more tips about topics ranging from barn care to websites for horse people at horsetipdaily.com. Just look for the topics drop-down menu on the left. You can have all of the Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go now with our new free app for iPhone and Android. Just go to your app store and search for Horse Radio Network. And don't forget to support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily because they really do make these podcasts possible. Today's podcast has been brought to you through the generous support of EquestrianCollections.com. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.